Have you ever felt like you were standing at the edge of a cliff with the whole world crumbling beneath your feet? That's exactly where I was. My name is Alex, and just a few years ago, my life felt like a series of closed doors and unanswered questions. I had a dream, a business I poured my heart, soul, and every penny into. For a while, it thrived. I felt blessed, like I was living out the purpose God had for me. Then, the market shifted unexpectedly. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Sales plummeted, debts mounted, and the pressure became unbearable. Every morning, I'd wake up with a knot of anxiety in my stomach. The joyful work I once loved became a source of constant dread. I remember one particular evening, sitting alone in my silent office, staring at a stack of final notice bills. Despair was a cold, heavy blanket. I felt completely abandoned, not just by my luck, but by God. Where was He in all this mess? I had prayed, I had been faithful, I had tithed. Why was this happening? The silence from heaven was deafening. My prayers became desperate, angry even. God, are you even listening? Don't you see I'm drowning here? I'd shout into the emptiness of my car. I was wrestling with doubt, wrestling with God Himself. It felt like I was speaking to a wall. My faith, once a solid rock, felt like shifting sand. There were days I didn't even have the energy to pray anymore. I was just empty. It's a lonely place to be when you feel like the one you've trusted your entire life has gone silent. One rainy afternoon, completely defeated, I was scrolling aimlessly through my phone when I stumbled upon the story of Job. I'd read it before, of course, but this time it hit differently. Here was a man who lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health. Yet, in his darkest hour, he never cursed God. He questioned, he lamented, he grieved, but his ultimate trust remained. Something shifted in me that day. I realized my prayers had been all about demanding a solution, a quick fix to my problems. I was treating God like a cosmic vending machine. I decided to change my approach. That night, instead of listing my demands, I just knelt and said, God, I don't understand. I'm hurting and I'm scared. I don't know what to do. But I surrender. Not my will, but yours be done. Even if you don't save my business, even if I lose everything, I will still trust you. It was the hardest prayer I'd ever prayed because it meant letting go of control of my own dreams. For the first time in months, a sliver of peace pierced through the anxiety. It wasn't a solution, but it was a start. My prayer life transformed. It became less about asking and more about listening. I started spending time in silence, just being in God's presence. I began a gratitude journal, forcing myself to find 3 things to be thankful for each day, even if it was just the sun shining or a hot cup of coffee. It was hard at first, but slowly my perspective began to change. I wasn't just focusing on the storm around me. I was learning to see the God who was with me in the boat. The financial situation didn't magically resolve overnight. In fact, it got a little worse before it got better. I had to make the painful decision to downsize significantly. It felt like a failure, but through it all, that newfound peace remained. It was a peace that, as the Bible says, surpassed all understanding. I wasn't happy about my circumstances, but my hope was no longer tied to my circumstances. My hope was anchored in the unchanging character of God, and then, Small miracles started to happen. An old client called out of the blue with a large project. A new idea for a niche service popped into my head during a quiet time of prayer, an idea I never would have considered before. It was a pivot, a new direction. It required humility and starting small again, but this time I wasn't doing it in my own strength. Each step was bathed in prayer, not for success, but for guidance. Slowly, painstakingly, things began to turn around. The new business model started to gain traction. It was smaller, more focused, but it was stable. More importantly, I was different. The trial had stripped away my pride and my reliance on my own abilities. It had forged in me a deeper, more authentic faith, one that wasn't built on blessings, but on a relationship with the Blesser. I learned that God's silence is not His absence. Sometimes it's an invitation to draw closer, to listen more intently, to trust more deeply. Looking back, I wouldn't trade that dark season for anything. It was in the valley of despair that I truly found the Shepherd. It was in the silence that I learned to recognize His voice. My breakthrough wasn't just financial, it was spiritual. It was the discovery of an unbreakable hope that doesn't depend on what I can see. If you're in a dark place right now, if your prayers seem to hit the ceiling and fall back down, I want to encourage you. Don't give up. Keep showing up. Change your prayer from "Fix it, God" to "Show me you, God." Surrender your grip on the outcome. He is faithful. He is with you in the storm, and His plan for you is one of hope and a future. Your dark night won't last forever. The dawn is coming. Thank you for letting me share my story with you. If this resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories of faith and hope. God bless.